Hey, what's going on, y'all? RJ here with CV Tech. I know it's been a little bit since I made a video, but I'm back here now, and I'm going to do this comparison between the Samsung Galaxy J3 Emerge and the LG X Power. Both of these phones here are great phones for the price. Both of them right now are at my local Walmart, and I've heard some others say the same thing that you can get them for $79 in store, which is a fantastic deal for both of these phones. Both of these phones here are really nice. Both of them has some great advantages to each of them. They're really good phones, and I have nothing really bad to say about either one of these phones. But right now, what I want to do is go through some of the specs with you, just to kind of show you what we got here in both of these phones here before we run the speed test. And the comparison. Now, both of these phones here do run 6.0.1 Marshmallow. However, there's not any, I'm not really sure of any Nougat 7.0 update on either one of these. But if I hear anything, I'll be sure to pass it along to y'all. Now, both of these phones do have 720 by 1280 resolution at 720p HD displays. While here on the X Power, we got a 5.3 inch display, a 5-inch display here on the Samsung, 277 pixels per inch on the LG, and 294 pixels per inch here on the Samsung. Now, the Samsung has I think it's a TFT LCD display. It's not Super AMOLED, but it looks really good for what it is. And over here, we got the IPS LCD display on the X Power. Now, it says here that the X Power is scratch resistant with cornering Gorilla Glass 3. I can't verify that, however, on the J3 Emerge. Now, the cameras, I'll get into the video. Now, as far as processing power goes, we have. Give me just 1 second here. I don't want to tell anybody anything wrong. Okay, so here we have on the Samsung we have the 1.4 gigahertz quad core Snapdragon 425 with Adreno 308 GPU with 1.5 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of onboard storage. On the X Power, we have the 1.8 gigahertz octa-core MediaTek Helio P10 chipset with 2 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of onboard storage. And the Samsung can hold up to a 2 terabyte SD card. Over here on the LG X Power is a 256 gigabyte SD card expansion. Now, the battery, the Samsung is replaceable while the LG is not. The battery capacity on the X Power is a 4100 milliamp hour battery, and it's around 40 hours of talk time and around 39 days of standby time, which is awesome. Here on the Samsung, we got a 2600 milliamp hour battery that is replaceable, and you get around 23 hours of talk time. Not really sure of any kind of standby to nothing like that right now, but it is quite a lot. And so that's all I want to mention right now as far as specs go on these devices. Now, I'll get to the camera here in a little bit. Now, like I said, both of these here are really, really amazing devices. Both of them there's really, like I said, nothing I can say bad about either one of these phones. Both of them serve a great purpose. Of course, one is Samsung, one is LG. And so let's go ahead and turn them on here. So, of course, you got everything here. Now, brightness, it looks a bit brighter here. Looking in person, they look about the same in brightness, but this background here just makes it look a lot brighter than what it really is. Both of them, though, are very solid. I got both of them right now on 1X animations, and everything here is all good to go. So let's go ahead and go into apps here. Right fast like we'll go into CPU-Z. I know they give you the specs and all that cool stuff, but I'm going to go back in here anyway. This does run the MediaTek MT6755. So that's one thing I did not mention earlier. So you can see all this stuff here. You can choose to read it if you'd like to. Let's try to zoom in a little bit there, and I can't get my phone to zoom in, and it's changing colors and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah, you have around 10.4 gigabytes of internal storage available when you get the phone. 9.87 on the X Power when you first pull it out of the box, so you get about a half a gig more here on the Samsung than the X Power. Okay everyone, so now we are ready to start this test, and I did switch the phones around because it's easier with the back button here and the back button here. It's just easier to reach around this tripod and everything. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at here, make sure everything is closed, and it is. So let's go ahead and get in with this comparison starting now. It's like that the X Power had it. Go into YouTube, and the X Power had it, but not by very much. Let's go into calculator, X Power, calendar, J3 merge. Let's go into camera, like the X Power had it. Let's go into Google Plus, X Power again, barely. Go into IMDb, and it looks like that the J3 merge took that one. Let's go into Instagram. That was very close. I would have to say that went to the X Power. Let's go into the Play Store. And that was very close, but I'm going to give that one to the J3 merge. I think it pulled up just a bit faster. Let's go into settings. So X Power had it again. Let's go into speed test. So which one is ready to start at first. And the X Power is ready to go. And we're still trying to find the server. There we go. Let's go into Twitter. That was dead even. I mean, that was just like dead even. So tie there. Now we're going to go into some games. Temple Run 2, Subway Surfer. Let's start them now. So this is a little bit closer than I thought that it would have been. But you got that big 1.8 gigahertz octa-core processor. That's just it's fast. I mean, as you see here, it just wiped away the J3 merge, and I gotta be honest with you, I actually ran these tests personal, just kind of side by side, and sometimes phones run faster than other times. I have learned that, I have seen that. Just showing you this comparison here, honestly it was closer in my personal comparison to what I'm showing you right now in this camera. So I'm not really not saying that because I like the J3 merge. I like them both equally. They're both great phones. I'm just telling you what I've seen, and I'm just telling you that sometimes phones gonna act different. Why? Really don't know, but that's just the way it is. Let's go into Subway Surfer. The games were actually much closer together in the test that I ran, but the X Power still had it. So, like I say, the X Power just has more power. The octa-core processor versus the 425 quad core, as you see there. But both of them, when you're playing games, they're really even. Both of them play equally good. I don't see any kind of issues with either one of the games that I'm playing on either phone. Both of them feel very fluid, very fast, without any issues, any hiccups whatsoever. So I gotta say, even though it took a little bit longer to load up here on the Samsung, both of them play games very well. Let's go ahead and go in here to Quadrant, and just run a Geekbench test. Now I run these tests side by side to show you the difference between the two phones. Now these tests here are not accurate by any means, because every test is different every time that you run them. Just like opening apps on each phone. There's times that one's going to outdo the other, and one time it's not. It's just every phone is different at different times. Phones behave differently. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's what I have noticed. Now you're going to see a much lower score on the X Power for some reason than you will on the Samsung, but that's just because I don't know why. So we're going to go ahead and just let this here run out, and we'll go from there. So we'll look at this here first, since it was done first. And it says it's sending and network connection failed. I've been getting that an awful lot here on these devices here lately on here for some reason or another. It says the same thing here. However, it does score higher on the Samsung for this test here, but of course it always does, because for some reason octa-core processors just does not want to. It don't score that high. So let's go into Geekbench 4 here, and we will look at some previous tests that I did run. I will not run them again because I'm not going to sit here and waste all that time and it not do anything. So we're going to sit here and look at the scores that I got before. And as you see here, 712 single score on the X Power, 1855 multi-core score, and 621 single score, and 1628 here on the Oops, sorry about that, y'all. 1628 here on the J3 Merge. So it does outscore on the X Power, which you pretty much already knew that anyway, because the X Power is a more powerful device. When it comes down to both of these phones here, it's really a matter of preference on what you like between Samsung, LG. If you want a much bigger battery, like on the X Power here with a 4100 milliamp hour battery, it's big, it lasts a long time, but I'm going to tell you the J3 Merge battery is strong, and I can get quite a bit of battery time here on the J3 Merge. So it's, even though it's a smaller battery, it's removable. So if you buy two batteries, or if you got a J3 from last year, it will fit in the J3 Merge. So you got two batteries there if you got last year's model. So there you go. Keep both of them charged. You can go a long time. So let's go ahead and back out of here. Now I think I have M22 already, and I will go in here and look at them and see if I got a score already set up on it. Hopefully I do. And I do. 44,140 on the X Power and 35,436. So yeah, about 9,000 points lower here on the Samsung Galaxy J3 Merge. But as you've seen in the comparisons, while the X Power did pull ahead, this right here, just a split second, second and a half, is really not going to make that much of a difference in everyday usage. Like I say, you got a 5.3 inch screen here, a 5-inch display here. Going into the cameras here, and I will go ahead and go into cameras and just kind of show you some things. I'm not really going to go into a whole big thing here on the cameras. Now, camera quality, in my opinion, is very good on the J3 Merge. As far as lower lighting, I would say that the J3 Merge is better in lower lighting. And bright lighting on the outside, front-facing camera, rear-facing camera, both of them are really about equally good on each phone, in my personal opinion. Got an 8-megapixel camera here on the X Power, a 5-megapixel rear camera here on the Samsung, a 5-megapixel front-facing camera here, and a 2-megapixel front-facing camera here. Both record in full 1080 rear camera, and this records in full 1080 front and rear, 720 front, 1080 rear. So honestly, both of them are great. Cameras, I would have to say the Samsung does slightly edge it on the camera. It's a major upgrade from last year's 2016 model, in my personal opinion. The camera on the J3 Merge just looks good. It works well. Great frame rates. It's very smooth, and it just works. Both of them are really good. But in lower lighting, you will see a little bit more of a lower quality here on the X Power than you will on the Samsung. Now, how is call quality? Call quality on the Samsung here is dominant over the LG. I've always said that. In my personal opinion, Samsung has always had the call quality down, while LG has kind of struggled with being a little bit muffled here and there. It's still very clear, it's still very hearable without any issues whatsoever. However, I have to give the call quality to the Samsung. How is reception and connectivity? Again, like I mentioned before, the Samsung seems to connect better. Here at my house, I am very close to a LTE 3G line. I find my Samsung going into LTE and staying in LTE, while the LG never finds LTE here, and I actually struggle with reception sometimes here in the house. While the J3 Emerge, I can go anywhere in the house and it's clear, no breakups, no cutouts. But the LG X Power struggles in that field. So reception connectivity, in my opinion, in my area, is not the greatest experience on the X Power. I'm not saying it's poor. I'm not saying it's bad, cause in good, excellent coverage, both of them are equally as good. So I want to go ahead and throw that out there. Um, Screen quality, I have to give it to the J3 Emerge, simply because the brightness level here. Now the LG has a great screen. It's very clear, looks very good. I know people talk about 1080s and 2Ks and all that stuff. My personal opinion, I care less. As long as it looks good, as long as it's clear, I can read it really good. Either both very clear. This is not Super AMOLED. I really don't care. Super AMOLED looks good. It's vibrant. It's clear. Yeah, I know all that stuff. My personal opinion, if it looks good, if I can read it really good, if I can watch videos on it and it's clear, I don't care. But in my personal opinion, the screen is much brighter, much brighter on the J3 Emerge than the X Power. Um, Battery life, I mentioned that briefly earlier. 4100 milliamp hour here, 2600 milliamp hour here. Removable, non-removable. This here will last you 1.5 to 3 days, depending on how you use it. This phone right here has lasted me a day and a half with about 6 hours of screen on time before it died. I have last year's 2016 J3. That battery will fit in this phone as well. Pop this one out, pop that one in. I can go another day and a half. So, you know, it's not really an issue there, because this battery here cannot be replaced. This one can. So yeah, whatever you want to think there. So which one do I recommend overall? Um, I recommend both of them equally. I have to be completely honest when I say that, because both phones are great. Both of them are really nice, and that just does not look natural. So let me sit here and there we go. I'm trying to record here on the HTC 1A9, and it's just not seeming to work as good as I thought it was going to here in this setting. One advantage, in my opinion, is the speaker placement. Down here at the bottom on the back is the LG speaker. On the side here is a Samsung speaker, and I gotta say, speaker quality, loudness goes to the Samsung. It's really loud. It's very loud. I'll just leave it at that. It's very loud. You can hear it very good. Uh, the feel of the phone, in my opinion, has to go to the Samsung. And why do I say Samsung? Mainly because it just feels good. Does it feel kind of, does it feel premium? No, it doesn't. But it feels really good. It feels very grippy, very solid. It feels very good in the hand, and it really ain't going to slip out of your hand unless you just really just try to drop it. I mean, it's got a very grippy, nice material. X Power is a bit more slippery. It'll fall right out of your hand. This phone here, I would definitely recommend the case for, because it is so slippery. After holding the Samsung here and not having to really kind of hold it as tight, because it kind of stays in your hand. The X Power, if you ain't careful, will just slip right out of your hand. So as far as, but both of them feel really good. Both of them feel very well made, and I believe both of them can stand a beating. So I'm pretty much leaving this comparison to y'all. I mean, I can't even give my personal thoughts. I give these two phones here a definite recommendation. I really don't have any issues with either one of these phones. There is some negatives, but of course the negatives do not is not a deal breaker for either one of these phones. Both phones right now at Walmart, $79. You can't beat it for the price. Depending on it, it just really all boils down to you if you want an LG, if you want a Samsung. That's pretty much all there is to it. Do you want a slightly bigger screen, 5.3, or do you want a 5 inch? Do you want a much bigger battery? Do you want that extra processing power? And I will say, I will give a slight edge to the X Power as far as performance goes. Opening apps, it's quick, it's fast. You can do whatever you want to on this phone here, and it just simply will not bog down. It is quick, it's fast, and it's blazing. This one right here is no slouch either. It was behind in the majority of the tests that I compared, but overall, it's still very solid. It's very quick. It plays games very smooth. I've not had any hiccups with any games I have played on the J3 Merge. It has been very stellar, very solid. But I have to give the slight edge in performance, power, and battery life to the LG X Power. Which phone do I use mostly? I use the J3 Merge on most of my daily driving here lately has been on the J3 Emerge. I just love the phone. I love the way it feels, and the reception is just better in my area on the Samsung than the LG. So with all this being said, I know it was a long comparison. I do apologize for that, but I feel that this comparison here really needed for y'all to know my thoughts and just kind of tell you my opinion on everything about these two phones, and being honest as I can be, which is all I can do. And yeah, that's just my thoughts. Leave down in the comment section below what y'all think, which one y'all would prefer, and if this was informative and liked in any way, hit that thumbs up button. I sure would appreciate it. If you ain't subscribed yet, please do so. Hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see y'all in the next video.